Most people say they want to become leaders, but they don't. They want the attention, the status, the validation, the feeling of being respected when they walk into a room. But leadership is pressure. It is isolation, responsibility, discipline when nobody is watching, making decisions that disappoint people, standing alone when nobody agrees with you. Most people don't want that life. They just want the image of it. And that's why so many men spend their lives pretending to be strong, without ever building real strength. Because real leadership starts long before anyone follows you. It starts in private. In the mornings, you don't want to wake up. In the workouts, you want to skip. In the promises you keep breaking to yourself. That is where leadership begins. Not on social media. Not in motivational quotes. Not in how dominant you sound online. But in self-control. And most people never develop it. Because discipline is invisible at first. Nobody claps for you when you wake up early. Nobody rewards you for staying focused. Nobody notices when you choose growth over comfort. So weak people choose the easier path, looking successful instead of becoming valuable. And eventually, their entire personality becomes performance, a mask. That's why some men talk like leaders, but collapse the moment life becomes difficult. Because confidence without discipline is fragile, and deep down, they know it. That's the dangerous thing about fake strength. The world might believe it for a while, but you won't. You can lie to other people. You can fake status. You can fake confidence. But every night, you still have to face yourself. And if you cannot respect the man in the mirror, nothing external will ever feel enough. Real leadership starts where comfort ends. That's the part nobody wants to hear. People love the idea of becoming powerful, until power requires sacrifice. Because comfort is addictive. Comfort tells you, sleep more, delay it, start tomorrow, take it easy, you deserve a break. And slowly, you become weaker without noticing. That's how most men lose themselves. Not through failure, through comfort. The gym you skipped, the hard conversation you avoided, the risks you never took, the discipline you kept postponing. Every small act of avoidance teaches your mind the same lesson. Pressure should be escaped. And eventually, you build a life controlled by fear. That's why real leaders are rare. Because leadership is not built in comfort. It's built in resistance. When you train while tired. When you stay disciplined without motivation. When you stay calm under pressure. When life becomes heavy and you still move forward. That is leadership. Not dominance, not status, not talking louder than everyone else. Self-control. Most people cannot even control their impulses. Their emotions control them. Their habits control them. Their addictions control them. Their comfort controls them. And then they wonder why nobody respects them. Because people can feel weakness. Especially the weakness a man tries to hide. Real leadership has a presence to it. Not because it seeks attention, but because it no longer needs validation. A strong man does not need to announce his discipline. You see it. In his body, his habits, his focus, his energy, the way he handles pressure. That kind of respect cannot be faked. It is earned privately. One difficult decision at a time. The brutal truth, nobody follows a man they don't respect. And respect is not given because you talk confidently, or because you post quotes online, or because you pretend to have your life together. Real respect is felt. People see it in the way you carry yourself, the way you react under pressure, the way you speak, the way you handle pain, stress, failure, rejection, especially men. Men instinctively know when another man is solid and when he is performing. That's why some people can walk into a room quietly and still command attention. Not because they demand respect, because they became someone worthy of it. Most men want admiration without transformation. They want people to believe in them, while they still betray themselves daily. But respect does not come from words. It comes from consistency, from discipline, from standards, from self-respect. Because if you cannot lead yourself, why would anyone trust you to lead anything else? Your habits expose you, the excuses, the laziness, the addictions, the emotional reactions, the constant need for validation. People notice more than you think, even if they never say it. And the hardest truth, you know when you are weak. You feel it. Every time you avoid discomfort, every time you break your word to yourself, every time fear controls your decisions, that silent disappointment slowly destroys confidence from the inside. And eventually, you stop respecting yourself. That is where everything collapses. Because once a man loses self-respect, he starts chasing external approval to replace it. Attention, status, women, money, validation. But none of it fixes the emptiness. Because deep down, he knows the truth. You cannot build real confidence on a weak foundation. Real confidence is earned when you keep going without motivation, when you stay disciplined privately, when you become reliable to yourself. That energy changes a man. People can feel it. Not because he tries to look powerful, but because he no longer needs to prove anything. Leadership is not about being liked. It's about being trusted. And most people sacrifice respect just to avoid being disliked. They say yes when they want to say no. They stay silent to avoid conflict. They change their personality depending on who they are around. Because deep down, they are afraid of rejection. But a man who fears rejection can never become a real leader. Why? Because leadership requires difficult decisions. And difficult decisions will disappoint people. You cannot lead while constantly needing approval. The two destroy each other. That's why weak leaders always collapse under pressure. They care too much about being accepted, so they become dishonest. They tell people what they want to hear. They avoid uncomfortable truths. They fake confidence. They pretend to stand for something until pressure reveals who they really are. And pressure always reveals the truth. A man's real character is not seen when life is easy. It is seen when he is stressed, when he is tired, when he loses, when everyone turns against him. That is where trust is built. Not through perfection, through consistency. People trust men who remain solid under pressure. Men who stay calm in chaos. Men who keep their word. Men who do not abandon their principles for temporary comfort. Because trust is not created through image. It is created through actions repeated over time. That's why discipline matters so much. Discipline tells people, this man can be relied on. Not because he talks well, because he controls himself. Most people cannot even control their emotions for one day. They react impulsively. They escape discomfort. They blame others. They avoid responsibility. And then they wonder why nobody truly trusts them. Trust is earned slowly and destroyed quickly. Every promise you break to yourself weakens your identity. Every excuse damages your self-respect. And eventually, you stop trusting yourself too. That is one of the most dangerous places a man can end up. Because once a man loses trust in himself, he hesitates in everything. His decisions, his actions, his goals, his future. Real leadership begins the moment your words and actions finally become aligned. Because people follow certainty. And certainty comes from discipline, not attention. The hidden cost of avoiding hard decisions is the person you slowly become. Most men think avoiding discomfort protects them. It doesn't. It weakens them. Every difficult decision you avoid trains your mind to escape pressure. You avoid the conversation. You avoid the risk. You avoid the responsibility. You avoid changing your life. And at first, nothing seems to happen. That's why comfort is dangerous. Its consequences are invisible in the beginning. But over time, avoidance changes a man completely. You become more hesitant, more anxious, more emotionally reactive. Not because life became harder, but because you stopped confronting it. That's the hidden price. The less pressure you face willingly, the weaker you become when pressure arrives unexpectedly. And life always brings pressure eventually. That's why hard decisions matter so much. Not because they feel good, because they build identity. Every difficult choice sends a message to your mind. I can handle discomfort. That creates confidence, real confidence, not fake motivation, not arrogance, not loud energy online, inner certainty. Most people spend years trying to feel confident, while avoiding the exact actions that would create confidence naturally. Because confidence is built through proof. Proof that you can suffer, adapt, stay disciplined, move forward despite fear. That is why strong men become calm. Not because life is easy for them, because they stopped running from difficult things. And eventually, their mind learns something powerful. Discomfort will not destroy me. That changes everything. Because once fear stops controlling your decisions, your entire life opens up. Most people never experience that freedom. They stay trapped inside patterns, overthinking, hesitation, comfort, distraction. All because they avoided one thing: temporary discomfort. But the truth is, every man suffers. The question is, will you suffer now with purpose or later with regret? Because avoiding hard decisions does not remove pain, it only delays it. And delayed pain always returns heavier. How to become the man others choose to follow. Most people think leadership is something you achieve one day. It's not. Leadership is a reflection of who you become repeatedly. Your habits, your standards, your discipline, your ability to stay calm under pressure. That is what people follow. Not perfection, presence. And presence comes from self-respect. A man who respects himself moves differently. He speaks with intention. He controls his emotions. He does not seek validation from everyone around him. He does not change his values to fit into weak environments, because he already knows who he is. That certainty changes everything. People naturally trust men who are grounded. Men who can handle discomfort without collapsing emotionally. Men who stay disciplined without needing applause. Men who remain focused while everyone else is distracted. That kind of energy is rare now, because modern life rewards comfort. Distraction is everywhere. Weakness is normalized. Most people are overstimulated, unfocused, addicted to validation, and terrified of silence. And over time, they lose connection with themselves completely. That is why discipline has become almost intimidating. A disciplined man reminds others of what they are avoiding, the goals they abandoned, the excuses they keep repeating, the potential they wasted. And some people will hate you for that. Accept it. Not everybody will understand your growth, because growth forces people to confront themselves. But real leadership was never about being accepted by everyone. It was about becoming someone reliable, someone strong enough to create stability in chaos, someone capable of carrying pressure without spreading fear, someone who inspires through actions, not performance. That is the kind of man people remember. Not the loudest man, not the most emotional, not the man begging for attention online. The man who stayed disciplined when it was difficult. The man who stayed solid when life became heavy. That is real power. And the truth is, every man has the ability to become that person. But most people stop the moment it becomes uncomfortable. So if this video connected with you, don't ignore that feeling. Use it. And if you're building yourself too, leave a comment below. I want to know what part of this message hit you the hardest. And if you want more videos like this, subscribe. Not for motivation, for reminders of who you're capable of becoming.